Arrays are a really important part of Java. Right? Their formal definition is that they provide an ordered collection of elements. What that really means is that they allow us to store multiple values of a common type under a single name. Right? So if we do something like float the vals, but you notice that we've got that square bracket right after the float. That indicates that we're declaring the vals as an array. So that allocates out a name now that can access an array. And then we use this keyword new and then float 3. What this says is actually allocate space to store 3 float values, and they're all accessible under this one name, the vals. Now, each of the members or elements of the array are accessed through an index. And the index is 0-based. So basically, the indexes run from 0 to 1 less than the number of elements, right? So in this case, we'd have our first one is 0, right? Then 1, then 2. So using that, we can now put values in and get the values from the array. So if I say the vals sub 0 equals 10, well, that stores 10 in the 0th position. Then the vals sub 1 is 20, puts 20 in the 1 position, and then the vals sub 2 equals 15, puts 15 in the number 2 position. So let's say we want to do something like go through this array and add everything up. Well, if we're going to add them up, we'll allocate some space to store the result called sum. The beauty of arrays is it makes it very easy to move through these values using loops. Now, one of the questions, of course, is we have to know how many spaces to walk through. Well, arrays expose a value called length to tell us how many elements are in there. So I can write a loop like for int I equals 0, as long as I is less than the vals.length, well, that'll walk through each element as long as I increment I by 1 each time, which we've done here. So I can sum up the values in this array by simply sum plus equals the vals sub I. Each pass through this loop, I'll go through a different element, the 0th, first, and then the number 2 element. Then I can, of course, print out that sum. Now you notice here that this process of allocating the array and initializing it is pretty cumbersome, right? It takes a lot to do that. And that's something we might want to do very often in a program. So Java makes it very easy to create a shorthand for that. Is that after we declare the array name, we can use an open bracket and then just list the values and then close it. And that has the same effect. It automatically allocates the right number of spaces, in this case 3, and initializes the value in each one of those spaces.